All right, we are going to calculate a percent increase or a percent decrease in this video. So let's jump on in. So first, let's visit a percent. So don't forget that percent means per 100. So if I'm talking about, let's just say 6%, for example, that is the same as 6 out of 100. So 6 would be the part, and 100 is the whole. Because if you think about 100% of something is the entire piece. So when we are thinking about percents, we will often think about part to whole, where the top number is the part, and 100 represents the entire thing. So let's move on to calculating a percent increase or a percent decrease. Now to do that, we have three pieces to this. So first, we have to calculate the absolute change. Now, absolute change is found by taking the absolute value of the final value minus the initial value. So thinking about when you're looking at the change between two items, the final value is where you end up. The initial is what we start with, but we're going to subtract them to find the change and then take the absolute value, which is why it's called absolute change. Now, relative change is we are going to take the absolute change that we just found, so the answer to the top one, and then we're going to divide by the initial value. So the initial is what we started with. So the absolute change divided by the initial value gives us the relative change. This is going to come in the form of a decimal. Now, if we take that decimal, so absolute change divided by the initial value, and we multiply by 100, now we have turned this into a percent, so we have percent change. So let's go ahead and do an example. My car was $48,000 when I bought it, and it was worth $40,000 after the first year. What was the percent decrease? Well, remember the first thing we need to do is find the absolute change. So I'm going to take the absolute value of the final value of 40,000 and subtract the initial value of 48,000. And so we have the absolute value of negative 8,000, which is 8,000. So that is our absolute change. Now, to find our relative change, we're going to take that 8,000 and we're going to divide by our initial value. So if I take 8,000 divided by 48,000, I get 0.166, and it repeats. So let's just round to 0.167, just for fun. Now, to find the last piece, the percent change, which in this case is a decrease because my values have decreased, I take that relative change and I multiply by 100. So I would have a 16.7% decrease. And that is how we find the percent decrease. Now, if we had a percent increase, it would work the same way. You'll just notice that when we found the absolute change, there was that negative sign. That's what tells us that it's a decrease, because from our initial value to the new value, right, they decreased. From 48 to 40, the values have gone down, which is why we have a decrease. So there's a couple different ways you can check that. But for this particular example, we have a 16.7% decrease.